Two, he had a queen, and his queen was name was Vashti. And what happened is pretty much Vashti. And the reason why I'm mentioning this queen is because Esther is going to come along after Vashti, and she's going to play an important role. So, in a sense, she kind of replaced Vashti. In a sense, that's what I'm talking about, the Queen Vashti of the Medes of the Persian Empire. By the way, in the Israelite culture, there is no queens. Let's just get that out of the way. There is no queens in the Israelite empire. Okay, but in the heathen empire, you have queens. Okay, so to get back to the story, he was ruling, and then all of a sudden, he summoned his wife. And anciently, the king had the final say. And does anybody come on? Let me get some involvement. What happened when King Ahasuerus summoned his wife? Does anybody know? I know people know. Go ahead, Miss Amashalam. Go ahead.
She didn't come.
She refused to come. Okay, she refused to come at the king's order. And that was a no-no anciently. You couldn't just refuse what the king said. Okay, and so because of that, what did King Ahasuerus do? Go ahead. He banished her. So she was put out of the land, or put out of the kingdom. Bye-bye. You're in exile. It's done. And so because of that, also, the king Ahasuerus summoned, throughout the land. And kings would do this, summon throughout the land to have many women taken from their families to be his wife. And one of the women was a woman from Judah. Her name was Esther. She was actually taken and to be one of the wives of King Ahasuerus. Now, when these women were taken, they had to prep for their night for the king. They had to be prepped, trained, how to talk to the king, what not to say, what not to do. Queen Esther was not the only one, but obviously Queen Esther stood out because she was a black woman, and nobody as good looking as a black woman. I'll say as a black woman from Israel, when I mean that. Okay, a black Israelite woman, best looking women in the world. So obviously she was taken and along with other women, and they were trained and prepped, and they could only come before the king when he summoned them. And we have children here, but we probably know for the most reason why the king would summon his wife, one of his wives each time. And sometimes they wouldn't even see the king a year, sometimes a long time after that. So you could be summoned once and not see the king for another few years. So you could only come when you were summoned. So I'm giving you the background of that story, just to give you what we're going to start with today, what we're going to talk about. But I want to make some connections here today of PURIM. So we'll be going back and forth and jumping back and forth in the story. So let's go ahead and start out, and we're going to be in Esther chapter 3. Okay. Now, in this part of the story, we're going to see the king of Persia. He's going to promote a man. Now, the reason why this is important, because you're going to understand in a second. I'm going to introduce all the characters. We've already introduced one. One is the Hebrew lady named Esther, who King Ahasuerus took to be one of his wives. Okay, so now we're going to be introduced to another character of the story, which is very important. So let's go ahead. We're in the book of Esther, chapter 3 and verse 1. All right, anytime you got it.
Esther chapter 3, verse 1. After these things, the king Ahasuerus promoted Haman, the son of the Hammedatha, the Agagite, and advanced him, and set his seat above all the princes that were with him.
Okay, so let's stop right there for a second. So let's introduce. So we're introduced to one of the main characters in the story. His name is Haman. Haman was pretty much the right-hand man that was appointed by a King Ahasuerus. He was the king's right-hand man, and he put him over pretty much all of his kingdom. So he was right under the king. Okay, now let's get some background. Haman, if you check, they call him a Agagite. You look in his lineage, he was a Macedonian who descended from Edom. He's pretty much an Edomite. Okay, if you go back and look at the lineage, he is an Edomite. Now, that is important because we're going to talk, that fits right into the narrative of the Bible, which we're going to go to why that is important. Because you'll see in the narrative of the Bible that there's always tension between Edom, Esau, and Israel. And if you notice in a lot of books of the Bible, it follows that theme, and where that theme actually started in Genesis, but we'll get to that. Okay. Genesis pretty much set the tone or the theme of the book of what you were going to see reoccurring throughout. So Haman is an Edomite. He has been put at the top of the kingdom right under King Ahasuerus. Verse 2, go ahead.
Verse 2, and all the king's servants that were in the king's gate bowed in reverence Haman, for the king had so commanded concerning him. But Mordecai bowed not, nor did him reverence.
Okay, so here's the thing about Haman. Haman, Edomite, he likes to be reverenced, likes people to adore him. He likes that attention because he wants people to bow down to him. He wants people to, and this goes all the way back to his great-great-great-grandfather. That's the same attitude Esau had. They say the apple does not fall too far from the tree. Remember how Esau acted when the birthright was taken from him. I mean, when the blessing was, he sold his birthright. But when the blessing was taken from him, how he acted, because Esau had that same attitude of wanting to be reverenced and, look at me, bow down to me. However, let's read the bottom of verse 2 again. There's one man in that kingdom that didn't want to bow down to him. Let's go to that bottom verse again. Read that.
But Mordecai bowed not, nor did him reverence.
Okay, so let's help me out here. This is another character. So we got some characters here. We're going to see if we remember these major characters. We got Ahasuerus the king. That's the king over all of Persia. And now we've got Haman. And Haman is a Edomite. Now, if we know the story of the Bible, Mordecai, is another character. Mordecai is not bowing down. Can somebody tell me probably what nation Mordecai is from?
Israel.
All right, he's an Israelite, from the tribe of Judah, There's always the Most High always has in all of our captivities, there's always a righteous remnant. There's always people that are going to be righteous and keep the law, statutes, and commandments. There's always the select few, the handful, the little flock, however you want to say it. It's always the handful that's going to be keeping these law, statutes, and commandments. In the kingdom of Babylon, you had Daniel. I'm sure it wasn't just only Daniel. Just Daniel was one of the main. Daniel, the three young other Judites, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. I'm sure there was others as well too. But you're always in captivity. You're always going to have men of the Most High that are going to be keeping those commandments. So Mordecai refused. And why do we think Mordecai refused? Somebody answer that. Why did Mordecai refuse? Nobody knows? Go ahead. Okay, because he knew the law. Mordecai knew the law. He knew the commandment. You shall not have any other gods before me. You should not take a graven image. You should not bow down to them, nor worship them. Anything that's in the heaven above. We know the commandments. He knows that. Mordecai's known that since he was a child. So Mordecai's like, no. So we got another major character here. Keep going, verse 3.
Verse 3. Then the king's servants, which were in the king's gate, said unto Mordecai, why transgressest thou the king's commandment? So the king's servants,
he's got his spies, and they're like, Mordecai, why are you not doing this? Now, there's a lot of parallels in the Bible, too, because this story sounds familiar. When another person in another captivity would not bow down, people were coming to him and wondering why he wasn't, and they were actually watching him. They were watching it. Go ahead. Who was it? It was Daniel, right? It was Daniel. Remember, Daniel wasn't, doing certain things. What's going on with this guy? What's going on? What's up with this brother? So you have people that would spy on him and figure it out. And, and you got to understand, too, as we get to the story, we understand the theme of the Bible. Esau and Israel are always in the same area. They're always in the same area because Esau always is harassing Israel. So they're always somehow in the same vicinity. And so when Esau is in the vicinity of Jacob or Israel, he's violent towards him. He spies on him. He does crafty things towards him. It's always like that, especially in the Bible. It's always like that. Okay, so they're like, well, what's up with this brother? Go ahead, verse 4.
Verse 4. Now it came to pass, when they spake daily unto him, and he hearkened not unto them, that they told Haman to see whether Mordecai's matter would stand, for he had told them that he was a Jew.
Okay, and here's another thing. Mordecai was not ashamed of his heritage. You know, some people that worship the Most High are ashamed of it, or won't, you know, or do it in secret. You know, Mordecai was not like that. He's like, yeah, I'm Jew. Okay, I'm from Judah. So that shows he had guts in the midst of captivity. He had that guts, that, you know, like, and you know what he was really saying when he said he was a Jew? I don't follow your customs. I got my own customs. So that means shows that he didn't compromise, because people, you know, there are people that claim to be part of Israel in captivity, but they always sell out. And that's why Yahushua couldn't stand the leadership of his time, because a lot of the leadership of his time were sellouts. You know, those priests in Yahushua's, I'm not jumping off top, I'm just making a point. The priests in Yahushua's time, they're making sacrifices to Rome. Oh, they make sacrifices to the Most High and also to Rome. Well, they were selling out. So Mordecai making this statement, I am a Jew. He's saying, I don't follow your customs and your laws. He's making that point there. Okay. So they're like, and so when they heard that, they're like, hey, let's go to Haman about this. Okay. Let's go to verse 5. Go ahead.
Verse 5. And when Haman saw that Mordecai bowed not, nor did him reverence, then was Haman full of wrath.
Then Haman was full of wrath. And Haman is doing what his great-great-grandfather did. You know, because this just proves that the Most High, the prophecy that the Most High said in the beginning of Genesis. We're going to get there in a second. But Haman is showing he's full of wrath. And why is Haman full of wrath? Because he wants people to bow to him. That's his attitude. He has an ego. He's vain. Like, why aren't you bowing down to me? Don't you know your place? You know your place. Bow to me. Okay. And that's the attitude that Esau always had towards Israel. Okay. Esau's always had that type of attitude. And so Haman is really doing what all his ancestors have done. Okay. Is that, you know, he's angry now. Okay. And we're going to see, because of that anger, what happens for that. Let's read verse 6. Go ahead.
Verse 6. And he thought scorn to lay hands on Mordecai alone.
Okay, so now he wants to get violent. Okay, and we've seen this before. Okay, well, Obadiah, the whole book is about how the violence that Esau has towards Jacob. I think it's in Ezekiel 35 too. It talks about how Mount Seir. Mount Seir is another name for Esau. Okay, Edom. How Mount Seir does violent things. He wants to put his hands on him because he hates the fact that he's not bowing down to him. He hates that about him. So he's full of wrath and wants to put his hands on him. Now he wants to hurt him, okay? Because he's not giving him the reverence that he feels like he deserves, okay? This attitude goes all the way back to Esau. This goes all the way back. Because remember, when Jacob got the blessing, what did Esau say he was going to do? Somebody tell me. What did Esau say? Go ahead. Say he's going to kill him. I'm going to kill my brother. I'm going to kill him. That's the same attitude that Haman has. I'm going to kill him. Okay? Because you got to think Esau would never wants to see. First of all, Esau was the older brother. And you got to think historically too. You know, anciently, the older brother would get the blessings. The older brother would get pretty much the one that was, what's the word I'm thinking of? The one that people like looked up to. So in that lineage of Esau, they have that attitude that we were the firstborn. We should be the one looked up to, not little brother here. You know, all the credits going to the little brother. No, you know, it's the attitude. Like I said, the apple don't fall too far from the tree. Okay, so he wants to put hands on him. Go ahead. Let's finish verse 6.
For they had shewed him the people of Mordecai, wherefore Haman sought to destroy all the Jews that were throughout the whole kingdom of Assyrius, even the people of Mordecai. Okay, so this goes right into what the Bible says. He said, I'm going to kill them. Now I'm going to take them all out. I don't like them because, you know,
let's take them all out. They're a threat to our people. They're a threat to this, because if one's doing it, probably they all are doing it. And he's right, because Mordecai wasn't the only righteous one. He had a righteous niece. His niece was righteous, who we're going to talk about, Esther. So he knew if one is acting like this, it's probably more than one. So let's take them all out. Okay. So let's hold our place here. I want to hold our place here. I want to just show where the root of this attitude is. Because the root of this attitude actually really didn't start with Jacob and Esau. It actually started before that. Let's go to Genesis 3. I just want to point something out here. This actually started in the garden. Really, if you look at it. This started in the garden here. Let's read Genesis 3. Just hold your places, and what are we in? We're in Esther 3, verse 7. Hold your place in Esther 3, verse 7. Let's go to Genesis 3, and let's look at verse. We'll start in verse 14. Let's look at Genesis. I'm sorry. Genesis 3, verse 14.
Genesis chapter 3, verse 14.
Let me give you some background real quick. So I'm pretty much everybody knows the story about the garden. The serpent, he was called the serpent. He was called the serpent. It was this characteristic. But the Most High is, he's bringing down pretty much a prophecy of what was going to happen. So he's talking to the serpent first. Go ahead, verse 14, chapter 3, verse 14.
And the Lord God said unto the serpent, because thou hast done this, thou art cursed above all cattle, and above every beast of the field. Upon thy belly shalt thou go, and dust shalt thou eat all the days of thy life. Verse 15, and I will put enmity between thee and the woman.
Okay, and when the woman is talking about her the nation that comes from that woman, okay, I'll put enmity between thee. He's talking about, and he's going to say, what does he mean, thee? Go ahead.
And between thy seed and her seed.
And between thy seed and her seed. Notice the woman and the serpent, once again, they're in the same area. I'm making a point here that you see the theme throughout the scriptures that Esau and Jacob are always in the same area, and Esau always intends to do harm. Okay? And we're going to pull another precept. Keep going. Oh, actually, we can stop there. So he said there's going to be enmity between the two seeds. Okay? And let's see if people really look at this. Who were the next two seeds that were battling? Are the next two people that were battling right after this prophecy in the Bible? Go ahead. Cain and Abel. You see, Cain and Abel. The Most High respected Abel's sacrifice. He didn't respect Cain's. Okay, and it goes down and down the list of. It goes down and down. Drop that. Still hold your place. Let's look at another precept. Let's go to Genesis 25. I'm just giving you, let's get to the background. Let's go to Genesis 25. And let's start in verse 21. This is giving the background of why Haman is acting like this. Because the Most High said this was going to happen. Haman probably doesn't understand why he's acting like this. But Haman's seed has always been like this, okay? Or the attitude, all right? Let's go to Genesis 25 and let's go to let's start at verse 21. This is the story of Isaac and Rebekah. Isaac and Rebekah were husband and wife, and Rebekah was barren, okay? And then Shalom. Rebekah was barren, and now who's Isaac? I'm sure everybody knows here, but just Isaac was the son of Abraham. Okay, and Abraham was the one the Most High called out of his country, and Abraham was the one the Most High made the covenant with of the promise of the land. Okay, and the sign of that covenant, of course, we know was one of them was circumcision, but physical circumcision ain't nothing if you ain't keeping the commandments. And Abraham was keeping the commandments before he was circumcised. But he made a covenant with Abraham and said, to you and your descendants, I will give this land too. Okay, so that's the backside. And then Abraham had Isaac. Abraham had another son though before that, and there was contention between him and that son. And who was that son? Somebody? I know Shalom knows. Go ahead. Ishmael. It was contention. Look, same area. They're like in the same, they were in the same household. You see, the Bible is showing you a reoccurring theme, okay, of contention, okay? All right. Let's look at Genesis 25, verse 21. Go ahead.
Genesis chapter 25, verse 21.
Go ahead.
And Isaac entreated the Lord for his wife, because she was barren, and the Lord was entreated of him, and Rebekah his wife conceived. Okay, now she became pregnant. Okay, so we know the story. Keep going, verse 22. Verse 22. And the children struggled together within her. Now listen, this is interesting. Two babies are struggling. Not even. I mean, they're in the womb and they are struggling, because this is what the Most High said. This back in the garden, they're struggling. These two children are struggling. Keep going. And she said, "If it be so, why am I thus?" So she's wondering, why is there so much contention here? Go ahead. And she went to inquire of the Lord. Go ahead. Verse 23. Verse 23. And the Lord said unto her, 2 nations are in thy womb. Now this is interesting. Same womb, 2 different nations. The Most High separated them at birth. Okay, same womb, but they're separate. He's separated. He said 2 different nations are in thy womb. Go ahead. And 2 manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels. So there's two nations right here. They're separate. They're struggling. Okay, these 2 nations. Keep going. And the one people shall be stronger than the other people. Okay. And the elders shall serve the younger. Okay. And so you got to think too that that's a prophecy before before Esau was born. That, and that's a hard thing to swallow, because like I said, the firstborn was supposed to get all the credit. I mean, because all the inheritance blessings were passed to the firstborn, and you get a prophecy before they're born that the elder is going to serve the younger. It means the younger was going to be greater. It means Israel was going to be greater, and they struggled with each other. Okay, and when they came out, there was enmity between them. There was enmity, and guess what? They were in the same woman. They came from the same woman. Okay, they were in the same vicinity. So I'm just making that point that Esau and Jacob are always in the same area within each other, and Esau always is trying to destroy him. Okay, so I just wanted to show why Haman is acting like this. It's because the Most High prophesied this, and this is a reoccurring event. Okay, now let's go back. We're going back into Esther chapter 3. We're just giving some background. So now we have some. Let's see if people are paying attention. I said this is going to be interactive. Okay, tell me some major characters we have so far. Somebody tell me. Help the sisters that just came. Oh, okay, go ahead, young lady. Say your name too. Blessing. Okay. Okay, now look, she was listening. She came in right in the middle. So Esau and Jacob were important characters. Now we're going back to the story. I was using that story as an example. Somebody help Blessing out and tell me some major characters we have that we talked about. I can call on people. I can't. Go ahead. What's it? One more time, sister. Darylyn, go ahead. Haman is one important character in the story. So Blessing and Mom were in the story of Esther. Shalom. We're in the story of Esther, and we're talking about these important characters. So Haman is an important character. Miss Darylyn, would you mind to tell me what have we noticed about Haman so far? Where is he from? What lineage? Go ahead. You got to switch up with the other guy.
I'm sorry. He's from
Edom, right? All right. He's an Edomite. That's where he's come from. And what's Haman's attitude, Miss Darylyn?
Haman's attitude is pretty much he doesn't like his brother.
Well, he doesn't like Mordecai.
He doesn't like Mordecai.
Why does he not like him?
Because Mordecai does not follow.
There we go.
The tradition.
Excellent.
And the following of Haman.
Excellent. Give her a hand. That was good. That was good. Good. Now these are teaching skills. Good enough. Also, good enough as a teacher. All right. So he and Mordecai is from the tribe of Judah. He is a righteous man, and Haman hates him. And because Haman hates him because he's not following what Haman wants him to follow. And because of that, just like Esau, just like Cain, just like the serpent, who he said was a murder from the beginning, he wants to kill Mordecai. He wants to kill him because he's not following him. And so we're saying that is the attitude that Esau has always had. Okay, let's pick it up in verse 7. Go ahead.
Esther, chapter 3, verse 7.
Go ahead.
In the first month, that is the month Nisan, the 12th year of King Asarius, they cast PURIM, that is of the lot. Okay, so they're casting lots. So the thing about it is like rolling dice. They're casting lots, and they're casting lots pretty much at the expense of our people. Go ahead. Before Haman, from the day to day, and from month to month, to the 12th month. That is the month of Adar. Okay, so they're casting lots. Okay, that's where we get. Come. You said it's like they rolling dice. It's kind of like that's the best way I can explain it. That's the best way I can explain it. Casting lots. Now I don't know exactly how they did it anciently, but that's the best analogy I can make. Now I'm not saying they had dice like 7. All right. All right. Good question. Go ahead. Let's read verse 8. Esther chapter 3, verse 8. And Haman said unto King Asarius, there is a certain people scattered abroad and dispersed among the people in all the provinces of thy kingdom, and their laws are diverse from all people. Neither keep thy king's laws, therefore it is not the king's profit to suffer them. Okay, so right here shows Haman's attitude. He's plotting. Okay, and Esau has always plotted. I always get this psalm mixed up. I think it's what we read Psalm 81, I think, every week, or 83. Y'all know what I'm talking about. I always get Psalm. Is it Psalm? The Psalm which I think we read every week with the plotting is it 81 or 83? 83. The water. I always get that mixed up with 81. The water. So we see here that he's plotting. Psalm 83 talks about that, how these nations are plot against Israel. Okay, and Haman falls right into it. And I believe it says Edom is one. I think it's yes. Let's. I'm gonna just read it. I'm just hold your. Psalm 83 verse 6. Okay, let's go. Psalm 83 verse 5. I'm talking about. This talking about. Actually, you know what? Let's start in verse. Let's start in verse 2. This is Psalms 83 verse 2. This is the spirit that Haman has. Go ahead. Psalms 83 verse 2. For lo, thy enemies make a tumult, and they have hate thee, and have lifted up their head. They hate thee. Okay. All right. And pretty much the ones that really hate Israel really are against the Most High. Okay. Go ahead. Verse 3. Verse 3. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people. So crafty counsel. That's what Haman is. He's taking crafty counsel by approaching King Ahasuerus, okay? And he's going to paint a picture that Israel, the Jews in that nation are the troublemakers. Keep going. And consulted against thy hidden ones. Okay, keep going. Verse 4. They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation. Haman said the same thing. I want them all wiped out. Let them be gone. Let them be done. I want them out of here. Go ahead. That the name of Israel may be no more remembered. I don't want them in this nation. So he's plotting. He's taking crafty counsel. Look at the first. Keep going. Verse 5. Verse 5. For they have consulted together with one consent. All right, one consent. And let's talk about the confederacy of these nations, which do that to Israel. But look at the first nation they say. Go ahead. Verse 6. Verse 6, the tabernacles of Edom. The tabernacles of Edom. The first nation that stayed in is Edom, because Edom from the womb has struggled with Israel. Edom from all the way, and this is what the Most High said this, that there would be enmity between those seeds. Okay? All right, so and it's all, you look all through the Bible, you'll see that. Okay? And like I said, Edom is always in the same vicinity. Okay, it's Israel. You know where Israel is, Edom is there.
He's there in their midst, some way, somehow. And he's always plotting some way, somehow. Okay? So I just wanted to point that out. Slacky, Carl, Slacky. I'm gonna have him read some more, but I'm gonna get another reader in a little bit. Let's go on. All right, let's go back to the story now. Okay, we're back in Esther 3, verse 9. So we saw in chapter verse 8, he's like, there's a group of people throughout here, they're causing trouble. He's taking crafty counsel. Keep going, verse 9.
Esther chapter 3, verse 9. If it please the king, let it be written that they may be destroyed. And I will pay 10,000 talents of silver to the hands of those that have the charge of the business to bring it into the king's treasury.
Oh, okay. So he said, I want them wiped out. Let them be cut off as a nation. I want them wiped out. Take them out. Okay. And I'll pay 10,000 talents of silver to the hands of those that have the charge of the business. Okay. I want them out of here. Okay. And whatever necessary measures that needs to be taken, I want them destroyed. Okay. I want them wiped out. Okay. And this is why the Most High order, because you got to think, Esau is always going to have this attitude towards Jacob. And that's why you go back to the story of, what's the story of Samuel when he told Saul to destroy Amalek. He told him to destroy the Amalekites. The Amalekites are also a predecessor. I think they come from Esau as well. Okay. He told him that. And anybody remember? Everybody knows the story. What did Saul do when he was ordered to destroy Amalek? Go ahead.
He didn't kill everybody.
Oh, he spared Agag the king and had all these excuses. But the Most High knows these nations. He's like, he knows these nations. But Saul, and Saul has the attitude that we a lot of times have towards our enemies. You notice out of everybody, when it comes to us, we got pity towards everybody that hurts us. We have some type of pity. Nobody has pity for us. Nobody had pity when they put drugs in the black community that this was going to destroy a generation of people. Nobody had pity when they were doing experiments on black mothers in slavery time of how that would affect. Nobody had pity when they were doing all the medical experiments or when they did the Tuskegee experiment, on and on and on throughout the black. Nobody had pity for us. But for some reason, we have pity on our oppressors. And the Most High is telling us to not, he told Saul to have pity on them. Well, of course, Saul did. And this is the attitude we got to get out of, because and we do this nowadays. Israel does this nowadays. Everybody that comes up against Israel, I don't know if you've noticed, we will have some type of way to have pity, because we got a friend Becky or something. What about Becky? We always, what about Jim? What about, and so we'll always say, what about them? But I guarantee you when other nations stand together, they don't say, what about Tyrone? Even if they're cool with Tyrone. I've said this and and I'll stand on this. There's a shop that I used to go to, the owner of the shop, he's of another nation. And real cool guy, I'm not putting his name out there, real cool guy from, another nation. But I know if he got the order from his nation to go against me, he wouldn't think twice about it. He wouldn't say, well, what about your rob? It would just be go time. Go ahead and get something to eat.
Hey, we're going to line up the rank order if we do it. I'm going to grab something to eat real quick.
All right. But pretty much, So pretty much, they're not going to say, "What about Uriah?" If he got an order to take out Uriah, it would be no question about it, because he's doing it for the best interest of his people, and that's the thing that people just don't understand. Okay, so let's go back into the story. We're going to go back. We're in Esther 3, verse 9. No, I'm actually in verse 10. Okay, so we're going to see what pretty much. So I can read something. I can read something while you eat. Oh, you got it. Go ahead. Bakar, let's do Esther 3, verse 10. Go ahead.
The book of Esther, chapter 3, and verse 10.
Go ahead.
And the king took his ring from his hand and gave it unto Haman, the son of Hammedatha, the Agagite, the Jews' enemy.
Okay, and he is an enemy. of us. He is the enemy. Okay, and the king pretty much when the king ancient took the ring off his hand and gave it to him, that was a signal. That was a signal of power. Like, I'm giving you power to carry out what you need to carry out. I believe the Pharaoh did that to Joseph. Took the ring off, gave it to Joseph. Usually they would give it to the right-hand man. Okay, you're wearing the king's ring. That means if you say something or do something, you have the king's backing. Okay, go ahead. Let's read verse. Let's keep going to verse 11.
Verse 11. And the king said unto Haman, the silver is given to thee, the people also, to do with them as it seemeth good to thee.
Okay, so he's like, listen, if it seems good to you, go ahead and take these people out. Because, like I said, he trusted his right-hand man because he said, go ahead and take them out because pretty much you will, I give you my authority to carry this out. Shalom, Brandon. All right. Let's jump over now to Esther 4. Okay, let's jump to Esther 4 now and to find out more about what's going on in the story. Let's jump to Esther chapter 4. We're going to read. Let me give you some background now, real quick in Esther chapter 4. So Haman got permission to take out the Jews, and Mordecai is the Jew that did not bow down to Haman. He's the reason. Well, he ain't really the reason. Haman used him as an excuse to spark what he really wanted to do anyway, is to take out the people of Israel. All right, the water. All right, so brothers, there's some brothers, and this is very brotherly. The water. All right. So Mordecai knows his people are going to be destroyed. So he's heard about this. So now we're jumping over and we're going to find out how Mordecai reacts to this. Okay, so let's read Esther 4 and verse 1. Go ahead. Chapter 4, verse 1. Go on.
The book of Esther, chapter 4, and verse 1.
Go ahead.
When Mordecai perceived all that was done, Mordecai rent his clothes and put on sackcloth with ashes and went out into the midst of the city and cried with a loud cry and a bitter cry.
Okay, Mordecai is really perplexed. Righteous people, when they know what. Now, here's the thing that people miss or don't understand about when we go out to camp. We're actually sighing for our people. People, oh, you guys are rough, but we actually don't want to see our people on drugs. We don't want to see our people harm each other. We're sighing for our people. We're crying out, okay? Because we don't want to see the destruction of our people, okay? Righteous men of the Bible cried out for their people. They sighed, they mourned for their people, okay? They didn't want to see their people harmed or destroyed. If we had more righteous leaders, we probably could see more things done when they get into certain positions. But these leaders are the leaders that, especially that look like us, don't sigh. They don't sigh or cry. And if some do, it's very little. It's minimal. Okay? They'll get in positions and be like, well, okay, well, that's them. They got to pull themselves out of their own bootstraps. Mordecai didn't say that. He didn't say, well, they got to pull themselves up on their own bootstraps. Okay, he sighed and cried for his people. He felt he was moved because he cared for his people. He didn't want to see his people destroyed. Go ahead, verse 2.
The book of Esther, chapter 4, and verse 2. And came even before the king's gate, for none might enter into the king's gate clothed with sackcloth. Even
came up to the king's gate, sighing and crying, mourning for his people. Shalom. All right. He's mourning for his people. He doesn't want to see the destruction of his people. He don't want to see the end of his people. Keep going. Verse 3.
Verse 3. And in every province, whithersoever the king's commandment and his decree came, there was great mourning among the Jews, and fasting, and weeping, and wailing, and many lay in sackcloth and ashes. Okay, so many are distraught by this. They're distraught by hearing this. They're upset. Righteous people actually sigh and cry when they see the hold your places there. Let's get a precept on that, because you got to see this, because this is not the only time this happened.
We want to see the attitude of righteous people. Hold your place there, and let's look at Ezekiel. Let's look at Ezekiel 9 and verse 4. Let's just get a precept on that. Yeah, we're getting a quiz in a second. Let me see people paying attention. Okay, we're gonna quiz the people. You know, I know Ganad gonna pass because Ganad's a teacher. Officer Ganad's a teacher. I know he gonna pass. We're gonna quiz people paying attention. All right, so make sure people are paying attention. We gotta go over stuff. All right, sorry, sir. All right. So this is Slacker, sir.
Get pop quiz on the closing.
Card. All right. Let's read Ezekiel 9. So the background is this: is Ezekiel. The Most High is showing Ezekiel, showing him what needs to be done and a vision that he's giving him. Ezekiel 9 verse 4. Go ahead and read that.
The book of Ezekiel, chapter 9 and verse 4.
Go ahead.
And the Lord said unto him, Go through the midst of the city, through the midst of Jerusalem, and set a mark upon the foreheads of the men that sigh and that cry for all the abominations that be done in the midst thereof.
You know, he told him to go throughout Jerusalem. There are always a remnant. There's always a group of people that are going to be loyal to the Most High. The Most High is always going to have a remnant. He's always going to have chosen or called out men, or men that are going to be righteous and that are going to sigh and cry. Okay, anytime that we're in captivity, you're going to see that. And at this time, in Ezekiel's time, that Judah was really messing up. They were in serious, they were doing serious, crazy things. But there were still people that were in Jerusalem that were sighing and crying of the sins that there are people, or the condition that their people were in. And that's where Mordecai gets his spirit from. That's why Mordecai has that attitude. He sighs and cries because he wants to see things better for his people. So I wanted to show you the attitude of a righteous man is when he sees his people either in captivity or he sees his people doing an abomination, he actually sighs and cries. He mourns because he wants better for his people. All right, that's biblical. Who wouldn't want better for their people? Who wouldn't want that? But unfortunately, because we've been in this captivity, when I say people of our nation will see our people in a condition and just be like, oh, well, they got to pull themselves out of with their own bootstraps. No other nation says that. Pull themselves out by their own bootstraps. Sign and cry means, we feel for our brothers and sisters. We want to help them. All right, let's go back to the story here. Okay. Let me give a quick pop quiz. Can somebody tell me? Now, I know Blessing over there was paying attention earlier. Let's get this side over here. Can somebody tell me, for the people that just walked in, what is going on? A quick summary. What's going on in the story so far? So we can get people caught up, because a couple people just walked in. Give me like a sentence or two. I know Ganad knows, I have to just call him the teacher. Let me call on Amma Shalom. Amma Shalom, what's going on in the story so far, so people can just, what's going on in the story? So I got to pick on it's my mother. I'm sorry. Got to pick on my mother. I'm sorry. You want to give a quick synopsis? What's happening?
We have Haman, who has determined to kill off the Hebrew people, and we have Mordecai, who refuses to serve anybody that he has to bow to, because that is against the law. And then we have Esther, the queen.
Okay. Oh, yo, you jumping too far, but that was good. Give her a hand. That was good. Okay. So we pretty much have the character Haman. He's an enemy. He wants to destroy Judah amongst the captivity. We got Mordecai. He is sighing and crying now because he doesn't want his people destroyed. All right. So let's go back to the book. Let's go to verse 4. Go ahead. Oh, so now we're introduced to Esther. I'm sorry. Esther, which Amma Shalom said, Esther is Mordecai's niece, I believe. Somebody can check me on that. I think I'm correct on that. That's his niece. Now, here's the thing about Mordecai. If Mordecai is righteous, then we're going to see the characteristics of Mordecai in Esther. Okay? Because, like I've said this before, if you are a righteous man, then you should be passing on those traits to your descendants or people of your lineage. And in this case, he passed it on to his niece. And so the one of the themes of this book is to show the power of a righteous woman. Okay. And how did she become righteous? What caused her to become righteous? Because she had somebody, a righteous teacher, Mordecai. All right. Gana and Alma Shalom are on point. Daryl Lynn. I think I got it. All right. So we've got some participants. Okay. So we're going to see Esther. Now, Esther is Mordecai's niece. She was taken by the king and was one of the king's wives. And we said anciently, when the king took a woman as his wife, she might not see him for years. Only when he summoned her. Okay? Only when he summoned her. Okay, so we're going to see what happens with Esther. Go ahead. We're in Esther chapter 4, verse 4. Go ahead.
The book of Esther, chapter 4, and verse 4. So Esther's maids and her chamberlains came and told it her. Then was the queen exceedingly grieved, and she sent raiment to clothe Mordecai, and to take away his sackcloth from him, but he received it not.
He received it not. Why do y'all think? Why does somebody tell me? Let's do a little bit of thinking here. Let's do a little bit of critical thinking. She went to console. He's wearing sackcloth. His garments are torn, and she went to go and console him and to restore the garments or some. She gave him a raiment, some new raiment, and he refused it not. Why? Why? Does anybody go ahead, Shalom?
But in ancient times, when we felt heavy as a nation, we always put sackcloth on as a way of maybe getting the Most High's attention.
Okay.
And we would not. I mean, we had to breathe or fast for a while.
Okay. Anybody else want to add to that? All right. And somebody, I thought I saw a hand over here. Did I hear? Go ahead, good now.
I don't know. But he didn't do it, so he can be like an example.
Okay.
So,
Okay, excellent. Anybody else want to put in there? Go ahead, Matazaba. Okay. No, that's what you Matazaba. So what? So Mordecai rent his garment. He's at the gate mourning. Esther, his niece, she sees that. She comes and is trying to give him some garment. He ripped his garments. She's trying to give him some, I'm gonna say, new garments to wear, but he refused it. And I'm saying, well, why would he refuse that? Okay, good point. Excellent. Give everybody a hand. It was excellent. All right. And you can think of why is he mourning? Because that is enough. That is a small matter to him. Being clothed with a new raiment is a small matter. The condition of his people is the priority. He refuses anything else. He wants the condition of his people to change. He refuses anything else. New raiment, new garments means nothing. Because my people are about to die. My people are about to die. So why should I be clothed in these nice new garments when my people are at death's door? That means nothing to me. Okay, keep going. What are we at? I think we're at verse 5. Go ahead.
Book of Esther, chapter 4, and verse 5.
Go ahead.
Then called Esther for Hatat, one of the king's chamberlains, whom he had appointed to attend upon her, and gave him a commandment to Mordecai to know what it was and why it was.
She's trying to figure out, man, you're not even one to be. You refuse the raiment that I sent you. What is the matter that's causing this? Okay, keep going.
Verse 6. So Hatat went forth to Mordecai unto the street of the city, which was before the king's gate.
Okay, so he's going to find out. He's going to find out why are you like this? Keep going. Let's read a little bit more.
Verse 7. And Mordecai told him of all that had happened unto him, and of some of the money that Haman had promised to pay to the king's treasury for the Jews to destroy them.
So he's like, I'm distraught. I'm like this because it's like the condition of my people. Where our enemy, once again, Esau, is trying to destroy us. And he's got the king's decree. And you got to understand, once the king said something, it was going to be set in motion. So Mordecai's like, it's only a matter of time we're going to die. This matter is important. Okay? So that's why he was like that. And more of us need to be like that for our people. This really matters. Keep going.
Verse 8. Also, he gave him the copy of the decree that was given at Shushan to destroy them, to shew it unto Esther, and to declare it unto her, and to charge her that she should go in unto the king, to make supplication unto him, and to make a request before him for her people.
Okay, so he's telling Esther. Now, can somebody tell me, why would he ask Esther to do that? Why? Why would he ask Esther, like, hey, listen, Esther, you're going to have to go to the king. Why? Why would he ask Esther to do that? Anybody want to take a shot at it? Go ahead, Shalom.
She was in a position.
There we go. Give her a hand. Excellent. Give her a hand. She was in a position of power. Not as powerful as the king, but we're going to show this book. This story shows the power that a righteous woman can have if she plays her cards right and acts in her feminine, God-given nature, not a masculine nature that wasn't given to her that she's trying to obtain. This book actually shows when a woman is working in her feminine righteously, it works. Okay, it works because she ain't trying to be a man. Okay, this book is an example, and he's like, hey, you are going to have to go to you're going to have to do something about this. And it's interesting because there's a lot of us, our people, that are get in positions of power and do nothing for our people, like do absolutely nothing. But they'll do anything and everything for every other group, and we know what I'm talking about. Every other group they'll fight for. They'll fight, but it's like when it comes to us and our conditions, it's like, well, this is always the answer. Well, my hands are tied. That's always well, my hands are tied. But I'm like, well, how's your hands not tied with every other group? Every minority group. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Every other minority group gets some type of help. And then we're like, well, what about black people? My hands are tied. I'm not able to. And you know why? I've always said this. Because they really secretly love the oppressor. They love the crumb that the oppressor gives them. They love it. Because when you are in the oppressor's good graces, they'll give you access to the crumbs. They're not going to give you the whole pie. They'll throw some at the table at you. So, a lot of our leaders that are in these positions that say, I can't do anything about it, they like the crumbs that are coming from the table of the oppressor. I got the oppressor's wife. I get to have the oppressor's daughter. I get to be in the same neighborhood as the oppressor. Why would I do this? But it's like I said, and y'all know what I'm talking about. But every other group that is being so-called oppressed, it's like our leaders find a way to make commercials and defend them. And I'm like, how do they are able to do that? Okay, so it's interesting. But Mordecai writes is like, hey, you need to do something about this. You're in a position. The king summons you. You get to see the king when he summons you. You got to do something about this. Okay, so let's see what she says. All right. So let's go to, I think we're in verse 10. Let's go I think we're in verse. Yeah, go ahead.
Esther chapter 4, verse 10. Again, Esther spake unto Hathach and gave commandment unto Mordecai.
Keep going.
Verse 11. All the king's servants and the people of the king provinces do know that whatsoever, whether man, woman, shall come unto the king into the inner court, who is not called, there is one law of his to put him to death, except such to whom the king shall hold out the golden scepter.
Stop right there. So Esther's like, well, these are the odds. You can't just come before a king. And let's look at that historic. Like, nobody can walk up into the White House. You're going to get shot. They're going to kill you immediately. Okay, so that's how it was anciently. You just couldn't walk into the king's court. Like, who are you? Okay, and to prove that, I took a field trip with my students. We were at the White House compound. We were just on the compound. There was a gate separating me and Michelle Obama's wing. And I'm joking with Secret Service. I'm like, if I jumped over this gate playfully, would y'all shoot me? They were like, yeah. And they were dead serious. They were laughing. We were all laughing. They were dead serious. So it's like anciently, you just couldn't walk up into a king's court. Like, who are you? You got to protect the king. The king's got his harem. Everything's got to be protected. You're going to die. So Esther knew the odds. Like, I just can't walk up into the king's court. I'll die. Man or woman, you have to be summoned. Okay, she's like, this is the odds. Unless the king held out his golden scepter, meaning, okay, I'd like to talk to you or see you, you were put to death. Okay, All right, let's keep going.
that he may live. But I have not been called to come into the king's these 30 days.
Okay, as a one of the wives of the king, the king only summoned you when he, wanted to see you. She said, I ain't seen a man in 30 days. Okay. And sometimes, like I said, someone wouldn't be summoned for years, depending on the king. So she's like, it's been 30 days since last I've seen the king. Okay. So let's find out what Mordecai says. Keep going, verse 12.
Verse 12. And they told to Mordecai Esther's word.
Keep going.
Verse 13. Then Mordecai commanded to answer Esther, think not with thyself that thou shalt escape in the king's house more than all the Jews.
Okay, so he's basically telling it, listen, think of your nation. It's not about you right now. It's not about you. Take yourself out of this. It's about, because if you don't go, we all can go and die anyway. So, take yourself out of this. Now, I know Shalom knows who else had this attitude. Well, I mean, we could have put a lot of examples. Who else had this attitude to sacrifice for their nation? Come on. I mean, this is no brainer here. They didn't think of themselves. They sacrificed for their nation. There we go. Yahweh Shai. Give him a hand. All right. All right. No brainer. That's how Yahweh Shai. Let's hold there and let's look at that. Let's look at John. Let's look at the priest. So let's look at John 11:49. All right. Let's look at John 11:49. And this is just talking about, this is the time of Yahweh Shai. Yahweh Shai had that same attitude. Like, I'm not thinking of me. I got to think of it. Because, and this is something we got to learn as blacks, Hispanics, natives. Like, we got to think more of us when it comes to, because like I said, a lot of times we have the altruistic attitude, the selfish attitude towards other nations. Other nations, a lot of times they're thinking us versus them. And they'll be selfish for their people. They will be. Other nations will. You could be friends with Becky all you want to. But when it comes down to it, Becky going to side with her people. Don't get it twisted. And y'all can be cool for 7, 8, 10 years. But if it becomes between her and her people, she's gonna turn on you. Or whoever. It's gonna be real quick. It's like y'all were strangers. Like, what happened to all that? And other nations will do that. They really will do that. They'll turn against you quick if they feel like you going against their people. Matazabah told me a story. I know I got it mixed up, but I do want to just show you as an example. I think he was telling me about one of the a basketball player that played in China. I can't remember the name. Matazabah was good. He was Ty Lawson played in China. Great basketball player. Making probably money over there. And he said something. He made a comment or a post, I believe, Matazabah, correct me if I'm wrong, about Chinese women. And they didn't they put him out? Come. They banned him. The nation banned him. They're not playing when it comes to their women. They're not playing. You see that? They thought it was one. They thought like a straight up unit. And I'm like, that's the attitude I have. That's the attitude. But you know what happens? We always think of the 2 or 3 friends we have. And what about Johnny? And what about Chrissy? What about them? And nobody in China said that. What about Tyler? They're like, get that Negro out of here. Get him out of here. Saw a women like that? Like that brunette, and I guarantee he became a Negro right there, nigga, right then and there. I guarantee that nigga that it made all that money, get him out of here. Because they don't think like that. They think for their people. So the point is, it's like, think not of yourself, because we, a lot of times as, and when I say we've been taught to not think of our nation, like us. It's like, I'm just doing me. It's like, that's not. All right, so let's look at a precept. Let's look at John 11, verse 49. Anybody that has it can go ahead and take it.
John 11, chapter 49.
Go ahead.
And one of them, named Caiaphas, being the high priest that same year, said unto them, ye know nothing at all. Okay, so Caiaphas the priest, he's saying this in reference to Yahweh Shai. Let's see what he says. Go ahead. Verse 50. Nor consider that it is expedient for us that one man should die for the people, and that the whole nation perish not. Okay, one man. Listen, Yahweh Shai was like, I'll sacrifice myself for my people so that they will not perish. This is the righteous attitude that Haman is telling, that Mordecai is telling Esther. Like, think not of yourself.
You know, think of your nation. Same attitude your house had. Go ahead. Verse 51, go ahead.
Verse 51. And this spake he not of himself, but being high priest that year, he prophesied that Yahweh should die for the nation.
Should die for the nation. Like, you know, this for our people. Verse 52, go ahead. Finish it off.
And not for that nation only, but that also he should gather together one of the children of God that were scattered abroad.
Okay. And so, you know, the scattered abroad, you know, that was the nation of Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. That was the southern kingdom. And, you know, that northern kingdom at that time, but there, I mean, a lot of them were scattered abroad. There was a few that were still in Jerusalem, though. But there were a lot of them were scattered abroad, the northern kingdom. So it was not just for Judah only, and the nation of Judah owned the southern kingdom, for that northern kingdom also. All right. So that's why, Mordecai is telling Esther, hey, don't think of yourself. This is a serious matter. We could die here. All right, let's go back to the story now. Okay. Let's go. We're in Esther chapter 4. Let's go to verse 14. So he's still talking to Esther here. Go ahead.
Esther chapter 4, verse 14. For if thou altogether holdest thy peace at this time, then shall their enlargement and deliverance arise to the Jews from another place. But thou and thy father's house shall be destroyed.
Okay, so the deliverance comes from another place. People gonna remember you that you did nothing. You're gonna remember that. You and your father, you know, you're gonna get a bad reputation. Keep going.
And who knoweth whether thou art come to the kingdom for such a time as this?
And this is another reoccurring theme. You notice in the Bible, the Most High will shows us in the Bible that throughout the Bible, when we were in captivity, he shows the attitude of righteous people in powerful positions. Come on, somebody give me somebody else that was in a powerful position that helped save their people. Come on. Give me somebody. Go ahead, Bakar.
Moses.
Oh, Moses. Okay. All right. Anybody else? Somebody got somebody that was in a powerful position to help their people? I'm thinking of somebody like, go ahead. Okay, man. I thought, oh, good one. I didn't think of that one. Excellent. All right. Anybody else? That's what I was thinking of. Joseph. Joseph was right under Pharaoh, and Joseph brought his people into Egypt, made sure they were clothed, make sure they had a place to stay. Joseph did that. Okay, Joseph did that. All right. So it's like the Bible shows when people Mordecai is telling Esther, who knows? Maybe the Most High put you in this position to do this, you know. But you know, the attitude of some of our leaders nowadays is, I just got to get mine. My hands are tied. I got to do me. You got to pull yourself out of the bootstraps. You know, it's out there. I remember this one brother told me that it made me so mad. It's out there. You just got to go get it. You know, it's out there. You know, it's like, well, if it's out there, well, can you help your people while it's out there? That was my answer. Okay, well, we got it. It's out there. Once you point your people where it is, it's out there. I'm like, and that, you know, and let me say something. Other nations don't have that attitude. When somebody from another nation, go ahead, come on, sir.
Other nations don't gatekeep.
A con on one con. Good. Can you say that again, Cass?
They don't gatekeep. They share experiences and build the people around them up.
Absolutely. And what Cap just said, I was going into that. Excellent point, Cap. Because other nations, you know, so when they come over here, come on, y'all tell me, what Cap just said it, when they have a store or a business over here, what do? They don't tell their people back in their country, it's out there. What do? Come on now. Go ahead, Bakar. You about to say?
They give them information so they can come over and open the
They a lot of times hey, come work with me. Come work with me. I remember I saw this one young guy, and he was from Egypt. I knew his father. His father had a shop that I used to go to. He was 21. He was like, yeah, my uncle has the shop down the street. He said he had me come over here, and this shop is mine. I'm like, wow. Now his uncle didn't say, hey, it's out there.
Right.
It's out there.
You gotta find
it. Right. He said, come over to America. I got a shop. And he was only like 20 years old.
Hey, can I say something right?
Come,
that's why all the East Indians is that Dunkin' Donuts.
Come.
That's why there's so many Korean hair schools.
Come.
And all of that's not by mistake, you understand?
Come. Absolutely. They don't tell the people their name. It's out there. You got to go get those Dunkin' Donuts. It's out. You got to go get that business. They got it set up for them. They come over here. They even got they got a place they can stay. Hey, come over here. We got a place for you to stay. We have a job for you. If you don't know the language, we'll teach you that. They got it already set up for them. They do not say, go, you got to go get it. It's already there for them. And so they can build. Go ahead, Darren, go ahead.
And also our government gives them grants.
Absolutely. Gives them stuff and then looks at us and says, y'all gotta pull yourselves up out of your bootstraps. By your own bootstraps. You know, but it's just, that's what I'm saying, that the attitude, we gotta have the attitude about each other. If we got a business, listen, look out for the people in your nation. Look out for them. Go ahead, Amatazima.
Every other nation is segregated. They only deal with us when it comes to business and making money or getting a gang on it. Outside of that, they don't deal with it. But they hang with each other. And you never see Asians doing anything outside of making money on the flag.
Absolutely, good point. But Shalom, you had
And another thing is they never put the money that they earned now.
absolutely.
Back into our community, they take it right home.
Absolutely, and that's, it's a great point, because there was a shop. There was somebody of another nation built an ice cream shop in North Carolina. One of my friends was telling me this, and he said every day in the cold dead winter, the line will be wrapped around the corner of people of their nation just to support that ice cream business. Wrapped around the corner in the dead winter, you get an ice cream in the dead winter because they wanted to support the people of their nation and wanted to make sure that that stuff, that money and all that was staying right within their community. Somebody's hand is up over here. Go ahead, Bakwash. Oh, no, go ahead, Kat.
Real quick, also, while we on the Asian thing,
Con, sir.
Beyonce just had her own. What she just started off? The hair, not the country song. She got a hairline now,
What's your con?
and she made the CEO of the hairline a Chinese person. You believe
Not
that?
surprised. Not surprised.
This is a black-owned business. Black-owned. You know what I'm saying? And then she gonna take the Chinese person and put the Chinese person
In charge
of the
of a black hair.
Come on, yo. I mean, think about that.
That's
You know what I
ridiculous.
mean?
That's ridiculous. But like I said, altruistic. What about them? Attitude. Bakwash, you had a question too?
Yeah, I know Asians and even certain Africans, when they come over here, they have some fund that they have set up.
Absolutely.
Where each person puts a set amount in a
Yep.
pot.
Yep.
And then they take
Con.
taking that pot.
Con, absolutely.
Whatever it is they want.
Con. They do that to open up a business. You're like, okay, we, whoever needs a business, let's put this amount. They do that. That's why a lot of them don't even deal with banks. Some of these nations, they don't deal with the bank. They don't take out loans. They're like, our brother needs to open up an ice cream business. He needs whatever, $10,000, $20,000. We're gonna put this amount aside every paycheck so that he can do it. They do that. That's why some of them even deal with banks. That was a great point. All right. So the point here is, it's Mordecai is telling Esther, don't have that attitude. Think of your nation. Let's go to verse 15. Go ahead.
Esther chapter 4, verse 15. Then Esther bade them return Mordecai this answer. Verse 16.
Go ahead.
Go gather together all the Jews that are present in Shushan, and fast ye for me, and neither eat nor drink 3 days, night or day. I also and my maidens will fast likewise. And so will I go in unto the king, which is not according to the law. And if I perish, I perish.
You see her attitude? If I die, I die. Okay. She because she had care for our people. She said, hey, listen, okay, this is what we're going to do. I'm going to do this, even though it's against the king's command. And that shows that her people are more important than that king's commandment. Just to save her people. That's the attitude she had. She said, I'm going to go in there. I'm going to do this, even though it might cost me my life. Okay, I'm going to do this for my own people and for my own kind. I'm going to do this. Okay, so now this is one of my favorite parts of the story. I think the Apocrypha paints it paints it a little bit clearer. But we're going to look at this. We're going to look at this from the Bible. We're going to look at this from the book of Esther in the Bible. Then we're going to look at the Apocrypha and we're going to look at it. We're going to look at it from different not different points of view, but the story is a little bit more. It tells a little bit more in the Apocrypha. All right, so let's jump to chapter 5. Now, this shows the power of a black woman being feminine. Okay, and this is, this shows the heroism, if I could say, of this sister. Now we're going to see how this sister does this. Now she's using womanly skills. So you got to think this was planned, because women know how to get a man's attention when they want to. And a lot of times, a woman will do it there's times when women will do it in the wrong way, but they know how to get a man's attention. Now, this is a story that shows how a righteous woman uses her skill, her womanly skills, to get a man's attention. And women know that. Okay, so let's read Esther chapter 5 and verse 1.
Esther chapter 5, verse 1.
Wait a minute, let's back up. Let me see if people are paying attention. What is Esther supposed to be doing? Somebody tell me. She was paying attention. I don't call people sleeping here. What was, go ahead, Bakwashma.
Supposed to be fasting and getting ready for either life or death.
Okay, and life or death, what does she have to do?
She's going to the king and presenting this dilemma.
Okay, excellent. All right, excellent work. All right, so now we're in Esther 5. So let's see what she does to do this. Okay, Esther chapter 5, let's read verse 1.
Esther chapter 5, verse 1. Now it came to pass on the third day that Esther put on her royal apparel.
Okay, Esther is putting on her royal apparel. So Esther's like, I gotta look good. Okay, gotta look good for my husband. Okay, keep going.
And stood in the inner court of the king's house, over against the king's house, and the king sat upon the royal throne in the royal house, over against the gate of the house.
Okay, so she's putting on her royal robes. She's like, okay, I gotta go for the king. I gotta look good. Okay, so she look good, smell good, gotta look good. All right, let's see what happens.
Verse 2. And it was so, when the king saw Esther the queen standing in the court, that she obtained favor in his sight. And the king held out to Esther the golden scepter that was in his hand. So Esther drew near and touched the top of the scepter.
So come on now, folks. Why do you think she got the king's attention? King Saul was like, oh, why do you think he got that? How do you think Esther got his attention? You want to tell me? Okay, go ahead, Blessing, go ahead. Give her a hand. She stood out. Okay, she stood out. Now we're going to look in the Apocrypha. Excellent. We're going to look in the Apocrypha, and we're going to see how she stood out. Okay, Esther now she's using skills right here. Notice Esther did not do this. I'm a strong woman. I'm going to bust up in here. I'm going to tell you a piece of my. Notice she didn't do that. Esther didn't bust up in there like that. What would happen if she did that? Anybody want to tell me? This is easy. She bust up in there and say, I'm a strong woman. Go ahead, Blessing, go ahead. She would have gotten killed with that attitude. She didn't try to have that masculine spirit, like, I'm going to give him a piece of my mind. King, I got to talk. She didn't say that. Can we talk? She didn't. Notice she had an attitude. Okay, she looked nice. She looked good. And the king was like, hey, you, here. Okay, but we're going to see how the Apocrypha paints that picture. Let's look in the editions of the Apocrypha is right there. If anybody want to, we're going to look at the edition of Esther. It's in chapter 15. We're going to look at verse 1. Matthias, you mind?
Yeah, kind of got.
Okay.
Esther chapter 15, verse 1.
Go ahead.
And upon the third day, when she had ended her prayer, she laid away her mourning garments and put on her glorious apparel.
Okay, she put on some. She looked good. You got to think. If she's the wife, she knows what her husband likes. You got to put she knows what her husband likes. She knows the smells. She knows okay, he's going to like this. Go ahead.
Verse 2. And being gloriously adorned, after she had called upon the Most High, who is the beholder and savior of all things, she took 2 maids with her.
Okay, so now she's going with a maid. This was skillful. She took her maids with her. Go ahead.
Verse 3. And upon the one she leaned, as carrying herself daintily.
Come on now, let's look at this picture. Everybody, and women know this. When a woman wants to get a man's attention, what does she have to do? She looks like you want to answer? I saw a hand pop up. You want? Okay, she walked with elegance, but also she did this. she looks like she's just so, I need help. And that gets men's attention. A woman, all got to do is, I can't carry these bags. And she knows 5 men are going to be running towards her because she looks like the damsel in distress. That's what Esther's doing. She's like, I got to look like the damsel in distress. Women do that nowadays. Oh, I'm struggling. They know 50 guys, especially if she's looking good. She's not going to have to carry anything. She can walk out with just, she can walk out with a little bag and just, and 50 men are going to run towards her and help her. Okay. It's just that, and she's doing this righteously because she's got to save her people. She's getting the king's attention. So she's acting like she could barely help. She's looking distressful. Okay. Go ahead.
Verse 4. And the other followed, bearing up her train.
Okay. Bearing her up. So these garments had to be looking excellent. Go ahead.
Verse 5. And she was ready through the perfection of her beauty.
She looked good. Okay. And now remember, the king hadn't seen her in 30 days. He hadn't seen her in 30 days. Looking good in here. Go ahead.
And her countenance was cheerful and very amiable.
Okay.
But her heart was in anguish for fear. Verse 6. Then having passed through all the doors, she stood before the king, who sat upon his royal throne and was clothed with all his robes of majesty.
Okay, so she ain't supposed to be in there, but let's see what happens.
All glittering with gold and precious stones, and he was very dreadful. Verse 7. Then lifting up his countenance that shone with majesty, he looked very fiercely upon her, and the queen fell down and was pale.
Okay, now help. Okay, she falls down. Now she just, now she can't walk no more. He saw her walk in there. Now all of a sudden she can't walk. Okay, she's doing all this to get his attention. Okay, and this is righteous right now. She's not using, and this is the feminine energy. She's and notice it wasn't masculine. She ain't bopping there like she trying to go get, like she trying to compete with a man. You know that spirit. I'm a bop in here. I can make decisions just like him. I'm running this. Go ahead, Matthias.
Yeah, she wasn't going in there twerking and saying it's a hot girl summer,
Absolutely, too. She wasn't doing that either. Okay, righteous, got robes on, fully covered, but she's is getting his attention. Keep going. So I'll public a shot.
And fainted and bowed herself upon the head of the maid that went before her.
Now she's she's helpless. Go ahead.
Verse 8. And the Most High changed the spirit of the king into mildness.
Okay, he saw that. It's like killers. People in here that have a daughter, killers, when their daughter uses that feminine way, daddy, even a killer will stop and be like, oh, what do you need, baby? Okay, a killer just took out a whole block. We'll go, baby, what you need? You want tea time? Okay, all of a sudden, and that's what she's doing. Okay, because she knows how to use that feminine energy. Okay, his whole countenance, his whole energy changed. Okay, for her, his whole attitude changed. He's like, oh, what does she want? Go ahead.
So like who in a fear leaped from his throne and took her in his arms.
Okay, this man jumped from, this is a king, leaped from his throne and was like, oh, I gotta see what's going on with this sister. I gotta see what's happening. What's wrong with this sister? Why is she in distress? And men like to solve problems. So men like to solve problems. It's like, oh, she's got a problem. I'm gonna help. I'm gonna fix that. I'm gonna help her. Okay. So it's the masculine energy and the feminine energy. It's like, oh, let me help. Go ahead, Baba Shah.
And took her in his arms till she came to herself again, and comforted her with loving words, and said unto her, verse 9, Esther, what is the matter?
Okay, hey, what's going on? What's happening? It's a king, and probably they ain't never seen this king like this because this king was, a king. Kings always got to have a certain type of a presence and poise. That came all out the window. I don't know if y'all seen the movie. I don't know if y'all seen this movie, but this is one of the funniest parts. I don't know if y'all seen the movie Grease, but one of my favorite parts of that movie is when the guy John Travolta, he's supposed to be the tough guy, and when his girl came around, he's with his group of boys, and when his girl came around, he got all giggly, like saying, and this boy's like, what's going on with you? Like, and then he had to try to act cool again. I suggest y'all see that scene because it looked, it's like, you got to think of a king acting like this. Like he jumped from the throne to see what's going on there. Okay, now he's speaking all night. People was probably shocked, like, I ain't never heard a king talk like this. Okay, go ahead.
I am thy brother. Be of good cheer. Verse 10. Thou shalt not die, though our commandment be general. Come near.
Come on, what's going on with you? You're not going to die. I'm here to help you. Go ahead. We're going to read all the way to 16, Baba Bashar.
Verse 11. And so he held up his golden scepter and laid it upon her neck. Verse 12. And embraced her.
Okay, he's embracing her. What's wrong? What's going on? Go ahead.
And said, speak unto me. Verse 13. Then said she unto him, I saw thee, my Lord, as an angel of the Most High, and my heart was troubled for fear of thy majesty. Verse 14. For wonderful art thou.
Stop. So, 1 second. I'm going to tell you. And notice that she's not talking to him with an attitude to get his attention. No, she's still giving him respect because he's the king. She don't have an attitude like, I mean, you listen, you ain't my head. She don't have that spirit on her. Her eyes weren't all big, looking at him like, y'all know who you talking to. She still have respect. He's king. She's showing respect. Like, hey, listen, and she's, obviously she's talking to him what's going on, but still giving him the, respect as a king. Go ahead.
For wonderful art thou, Lord, and thy countenance is full of grace.
Notice here, this is an Israelite woman showing you how to get husband's attention, not with an attitude, not trying to fight him, not to be in competition with him. I can do everything you can do. I can do bad all by myself. I'm strong. Notice she didn't have that attitude. Okay? And guess what? Her attitude is she's going to get her way. It's get away. Like I said, daughters know how to do that with their fathers. A daughter knows to get away. She'll use that energy. Like, what's going on, baby? What's going on? That all of a sudden, as hard as he is, the daughter knows how to. Okay, I need to talk to daddy. All right, go ahead.
Verse 15. And as she was speaking, she fell down for faintness.
Okay, she's still, using, because she really wants to drive this home. Go ahead.
Verse 16. Then the king was troubled, and all his servants comforted her.
Okay, so this is really bothering the king. Like, okay, we got to find out what's going on. Okay, so we're going to jump back into the story in verse 5. And I think because of time's sake, I think we'll finish off in verse 5 today because we do have part 2, but we'll finish at verse 5, going through verse 5. So let's go back to Esther 5 and let's go into verse 3. Okay, let's start. We're going to finish all the way to we're going to go all the way to verse let me see. Let's go. We'll finish it off. We'll read most of this chapter. Go ahead. Esther 5 verse 4. 3.
Esther chapter 5 verse 3.
Go ahead.
Then said the king unto her, what wilt thou, Queen Esther, and what is thy request?
What can I do for you? Okay.
It shall be even given thee to the half of the kingdom.
So this is like, he's like, listen, whatever you need, whatever you want. Okay. Now, we've seen this before in the Bible where a woman used her feminine energy to deceive a king. Because, like I said, a woman can use her feminine energy righteously, or she can use it in the wrong way. Does anybody remember a story where a woman used her feminine energy to actually kill a man of the Lord? What story was that? Anybody know? Yes? I think you're thinking of the name. Do you know the man that she wanted killed? Do you remember the righteous man that she wanted killed? I know you know. Help her out, Shalom. John the Baptist. I think it was Herod and Herodias. Remember, what did Herodias? Now, Herodias, John the Baptist Herod asked Herodias to dance for him. Okay. And he said, hey, dance for me, and I'll give you anything that you want, even half to my kingdom. So she danced for him using her feminine energy. He probably was entranced, like, oh Lord, she's so beautiful. And then what did she say after she danced? She's like, okay, I got a request. And what did she say? I want the head of John the Baptist. That's using the energy in a feminine energy in an unrighteous way. She was a heathen anyway, I believe. I think she's a heathen anyway. But, this is just a lesson for the sisters, how you can use that feminine energy for good or for not, for evil or for wickedness. Okay? And she said, I want the head. And Herod felt bad about that, but he went and cut off John the Baptist's head. Okay? Let's keep going.
Esther chapter 5, verse 4. And Esther answered, if it seem good unto the king, let the king and Haman come this day unto the banquet that I have prepared for him.
So she's like, listen, I have a banquet. I want y'all to come to this banquet, okay? Because I'm going to tell you the matter of what's really going on. Keep going.
Verse 5. Then the king said, cause Haman to make haste, that he may do as Esther had said. So the king and Haman came to the banquet that Esther had prepared.
Okay, so now she's preparing the banquet. It's like, hey, come. I want you to bring Haman to this banquet, and then I'm going to let you know the matter. Go ahead.
Verse 6. And the king said unto Esther at the banquet of wine, what is thy petition? And it shall be granted thee. And what is thy request? Even to the half of the kingdom it shall be performed.
It's like, what is really going on? Like, what is really distressing you? I want to find out. Help me out here. Okay? Keep going.
Verse 7. Then answered Esther and said, my petition and my request is.
Keep going.
Verse 8. If I have found favor in the sight of the king, and if it please the king to grant my petition and to perform my request, let the king and Haman come to the banquet that I shall prepare for them, and I will do tomorrow as the king hath said.
Okay, so she's like, please, just come to this, and I'm going to let you know what's going on. Keep going.
Then went Haman forth that day, joyful with glad heart. But when Haman saw Mordecai in the king's gate, that he stood not up, nor moved for him, he was full of indignation against Mordecai.
Because remember, this is the start of the story. He hated. Oh, shalom, cat. He hated Mordecai. That's the cause of all of this. Okay, that's the cause of all this. Okay, why we're in this position. Okay, it's because it had to do with Haman's jealousy, and anger, and enviness of Mordecai. And this goes all the way back to, like I said, the garden. Okay, so we're actually gonna stop here. Okay, because there is part 2 tomorrow. So and we'll find out more what happens. I'm sure people have already read the story, but we'll talk about more what happens. Would somebody like to recap of the story so far, so people that are maybe just tuning in, or we can maybe we can ask by bits and pieces. Anybody want to recap? Give us a sentence or two. Go ahead, Gana.
So I think Haman is Esther's uncle.
Mordecai is.
Mordecai, right?
Uh-huh.
So the king is Haman, right?
The king is Ahasuerus. Haman is his right hand. Remember, Haman is the. Go ahead.
All right. So basically, Mordecai, in the beginning, Mordecai didn't bow down to the king, and
he didn't bow down to what Haman wanted.
Haman wanted.
Uh-huh.
So Haman decided to go to the king and basically convince him to kill. Because he basically told the stories about how if Mordecai doesn't bow, then most of the Jews will not bow.
Okay.
And so then the king decided, I'm going to end up killing all the Jews.
Okay, he convinced the king, let's take them all out. All right, somebody add to that summary. What happened next? Okay, Blessing, go ahead. Excellent. Give her a hand. All right. So because Esther knew her people were in trouble, she put on some nice robes or whatever. She put on some nice garments and apparel and went before the king to get the king's attention. And she said, hey, come and meet me at a banquet, and I'm going to tell you what's going on. And another thing is we saw that Mordecai raised up a righteous sister. Esther is like that because Mordecai taught her how to be a righteous sister. He raised her upright. Do you want to add something to the question?
If I could.
Come.
Exactly what you're saying is that to get the king's attention,
Absolutely, good point. I mean, good point. Put on clothes. Excellent point. To put on some clothes. All right, to get his attention. Excellent point. And so we know that Mordecai, her uncle, raised her up right. And because Mordecai was a righteous man, so was Esther. Esther was also righteous. Okay. And so we see the storyline here. Now the king has got her attention. And now he's like, well, I want to know what's going on. Remember, Esther's goal is to save her people. She's like, I've got to save my people. And she did this by going to the king, and she's now making a request. Okay, do I pass the go ahead.
So Esther, she went Haman and the king to meet up?
Yes. And we're gonna find out why. Yep, we're gonna find out. I mean, you can read the rest of it, but we're gonna find out why she wants that at the banquet. You know, but if you really think about it, you could kind of figure out why she would want him there as she's telling what's going on. You know, because she's got the king's ear now. You know, she's got his attention. And with that, I'm going to pass the class over to. So I'm going to pass the class over to Officer of 1,000, Officer Bakwasha.
Security announcements. We are the ISUBK out of 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York, and the Commander General Yohana. New rules for brothers and sisters. When a new brother or sister comes into the school, they're off limits for 6 months. They're to be saluted only. They're here to share themselves with the world. After 6 months, if a brother or sister has an interest in a particular person, he or she must get permission from the head to speak to a brother or sister. There's another 6 months in which the brother or sister will court each other. After this 6 month period, the brother or sister will get permission from the head to marry. Tithes, which is a commandment, you can find this in Numbers 18 and 21 and Malachi 3, 8 through 10. It means 10th in Hebrew, and it's pronounced ma'ashra. 10% of every penny of any increase the Lord gives you, give to the treasury department or teacher. Priest fund, free will offering for priests, not mandatory whatsoever amount you would like to give. Upcoming Holy Convocation, we are currently in PURIM. This is the opening, tomorrow will be the closing. The next High Holy Day is April 20th, which is the Lord's 55th annual Passover, right? Get that one. It's going to be held in Durham, North Carolina. Passover fee is $200 for everybody 17 years of age and older. The following night is a Feast of Unleavened Bread. We're going to have events that whole week. That week in all black party. It's going to be events for the kids. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be events everywhere for that whole week. All right. If you don't have your arrangements, make your arrangements sooner than later, because you know everything's going to get bought up and whatnot. Remind Akim and Aquakim to check on social media such as ISUBK.com, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and so on for ISUBK events and materials. If a brother wants to be a troop in the school, you start wearing all black, which includes black boots, black shirts, black pants, black headbands, and scarf. With that, I say Amajim, which means to stand. I'm going to give one courtesy salute to the teacher. Min Avizar Amajim Shabbat. Imajim. Barak.
Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shabbat.
Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shabbat.
Yadim Matah. Sar. Sisters. Imajim, which means to stand. We're going to give one courtesy salute to the sisters. Min Avizar Amajim Shabbat. Imajim. Barak.
Yahweh Shema Alabama Hashem Yahweh Shai.
Yahweh Shema El Adonai,
Bahashem,
Yahweh Shai.
There you go.
Most High in Christ. Yadim Matah. Class dismissed.